Welcome back, everybody. It's DestinysJesus here. Tayson's done it again. He's won his 5th FNCS. He's hit $1 million in online earnings. He's by far the greatest of all time in online Fortnite. Absolutely crazy. Let's take a look at how he does it, how he goes ahead and rotates, specifically without hammers. This will be useful for you guys next season, and also how he solo clutches. He had so many solo clutches on day 2. I think this game, and then also the last game to beat out Malabuka by 1 point. Absolutely crazy grand finals. Let's get straight into this. This is one of the few games that we're going to see where Tayson is below Surge. All of the other games, especially day 2, he had a really good Surge plan. He's got really good Surge aim, so does Mustache. These guys are dominant in Surge compared to a lot of other teams. And this is honestly one of those plays that only a controller player in their first ever finals who just has no clue how to play Surge would do, or the greatest of all time would do. And it just exudes so much confidence in your aim, knowing that you're better than somebody, to just fully land in their box and just one pump one of them. Like, that is just genuinely such a confident play that only an elite level player, or the greatest of all time like Tayson, would do. And it pays him off really well. He's able to get back to full HP, he's able to survive Surge, and have a good aim game this game. So one of the craziest things about Tayson's 5th FNCS win is the fact that he managed to do it with no mobility in the majority of his games. He's not got any meta items like hammers, he's not really got an opportunity to get chili splashes, so most of his games he's playing it with no mobility at all and just having good solid fundamentals. It's really impressive as well, considering how unlucky he got with zones on day 1. So let's take a look at how he uses this during endgame. So the first concept you guys need to understand is how dead side of 50-50 works and how that impacts first moving. So you can see here, Tayson has actually put himself towards the center of 50-50 right here, and everyone is going to go ahead and rotate into zone and be on this edge where it is half in. Now what this actually does is it means that you're going to end up with a large amount of space in a second here, where zone is half out, and it's basically just a complete dead side, which Tayson's going to use for his first moving rotate. So you can see everyone is on this left hand side over here, and there's absolutely nobody on this right hand side at all. And of course, first moving is going to go ahead and play north over this way, and Tayson is going to use that information in a second for his rotate. So with that knowledge in mind about remembering where 50-50 zone is, this happens on every single game, how is Tayson going to rotate first moving? First of all, it's not just the knowledge beforehand that he has, it's about the timing of that rotate. So you can see here, he trades a bit of tags with these guys, trying to make them to stop peeking at him. He waits a second, and he wants to catch a nice last second timing here, where other people around him with hammers end up rotating for him. So the team behind him hammer, now he starts to go. He shoots this team in the back right here, and as soon as he shoots them in the back, they're basically forced to overbuild and protect themselves, and Tayson goes around them. Again, he does the same thing here, shoots Reason in the back. What does he do? Instead of going around him in this case, he goes up. He knows it's getting a little bit more clustered right here, so he goes up a layer, builds forward, and takes a nice pause on this rotate, which is really crucial. He pauses for a second, builds an extra box just to scout out, and now he's going to go back to that fundamental concept which I talked about a second ago, which is using the dead side. Look how congested this left-hand side of the zone is. What's Tayson going to do? He's going to go to the whole way to the right side and just sprint along this right-hand side edge and get a very free rotate in. He is, of course, going to burn for a lot of mats doing this because he has to just cover some angles as he does it, but he ends up burning a lot less mats than he would have done if he was on that left-hand side with 100 people around him. One thing that Tayson does better than anyone else in these finals lobbies is being ready for the zone swap. He's not just going ahead and boxing up in end zone and looking for a kill and trying to refarm or something. Instead, he's focusing on what's really important, which is to make sure they're both healed up by splashing, but both make sure that they're both reloaded as well. And he's instantly ready for this zone swap. And he's also aware of the threat, which is going to be this massive terrain. Whenever you go into an end game, always be aware of the terrain that might foresee, like any type of ridges, any type of water or something that the zone could pull to. Be aware of that, so when it pulls like this, you can instantly be the first person moving up. You can cover a lot of distance straight just through sprinting in the middle of the zone and actually get to the top of this hill here, basically completely for free with very minimal mat usage. And then at this point, they can look for a kill because they're up on the ridge ahead of other people and their front side. They've got a nice timing window where they can look for a kill from this position. So when it comes to refreshes, Tayson is very, very smart with refreshes compared to a lot of other teams who just think they need to fight a team. Tayson is always aware of how he can get advantage, create a refresh. You can see here, they're already in the end of zone. But what he does is invest a whole load of mats, cheap tarping forward, building a 2x1 to the most front side team. And they've got a whole nice timing window, around 15 seconds here, where they can look back for a kill. They are never in a position where they are Backside, looking for a kill on backside, unless it's absolutely shambles and it's like third moving, which of course at that point in the game, it doesn't really matter about backside versus front side most of the time. So now you can see they're in a really positioned front side. They've got the floor on this team because they cut them off by going most front side team. They get the stair in very nicely. Other team falls down. Most hatch hits the max. And now they've got 2 whole bodies for a refresh. And very crucially, they don't go for a refresh again. Let's take a look at what else they do after they get a refresh in this next game. Okay, so this right here is a really good refresh that Tayson gets, and it's not necessarily about getting the refresh. It's just quite simple, just walking into a box versus solo, both shooting at the same time. Very good stuff, but it's what he does after the refresh. Instead of doing what I guarantee you a lot of you guys were doing, which is to pick up the hammer or pick up the minis or something, instead Tayson makes sure they're safe and secure. Look, he builds an extra box, he replaces the enemy's walls, he makes sure they're safe so they don't get jumped in on by another team or by a solo who wants to go ahead and try to get that loot. He makes sure they're both safe. Now, after they're both safe, they take the time to loot up. He gets dropped the mats because, of course, he's the top, he's the IGL. He's going to go ahead and do the second step, which is really important, is he doesn't focus on getting more kills. Whenever you get a refresh, just focus on getting towards the end of zone. Don't greed for trying to fight a solo on backside and put yourself in a bad spot where you're going to get hammered down or you're going to get yourself briefed. Instead, have the good fundamentals to ignore that and focus on getting towards the end of zone, which is what he's doing here. And thirdly, really key, is he gets to a nice layer. So he's basically sort of second height here. He uses his last remaining builds to get into this nice layer. And very crucially, again, he's sticking to this edge of zone. So while all of these other players are in the middle of zone, fighting over each other, getting boxed up and hammering around and stuff, Tayson is instead just completely chilling on an edge of zone by himself in a really good spot to do well this game. He doesn't have that many mats compared to a lot of other teams, but he's in the best position possible, which sort of counterweighs the map disadvantage he doesn't really have. One of the main reasons that Tayson won this FNCS is because of how many games he managed to solo clutch. Most Sash would go down being a little bit aggressive, trying to get a refresh for them. Tayson would be left just harping while Most Sash went down. Of course, that's his role as a fragger. And Tayson is being left to solo clutch. Let's take a look at how he does it. First of all, he's really aware of the positions he should put himself into to find a kill. So here he builds a 2x1 on low ground on this nice cutoff point where he can potentially find a kill on a solo backside. And he's also really aware of tracking other people's skin. So you can see there, he hits that Chinese Mogul Master to low HP. He's going to be looking for him for the rest of the end game, which is really crucial. Now again, he goes down to low ground in this nice cutoff point. He doesn't try to fight a duo throughout this entire endgame. Instead, he's just focused on spotting that Mogul Master from earlier. He gets that Siphon right there. And then now he plays it really well. I know a lot of you guys made the mistake of going forward too early instead of waiting zone to play. Tayson knows that he's got 11 whole seconds before he goes down back in zone here. So he's completely happy to tank out 3 or 4 ticks back in the zone so he doesn't get caught out in the open. Like exactly what have happened here. Someone hammers him out and he'll be caught in the open, and instead he's aware of where the people are ahead of him. He turns around, hits this nice flick, really good crosshair placement onto eyedrop to get that kill. Now he gets the whole body and the hammer, and you might think he's got a little bit better chance with solo clutch. However, he gets beamed by height as he comes forward here and he goes down. Still, just getting a top 6 with an extra 2 kills there is absolutely huge in terms of points. And it's those little clutches that add up, which allowed him to clutch this last game, which let's take a look at. Okay, so in the very last game, it came down to these 2 solo clutching versus each other. They're both on literally within 1 point of each other at this point in time on the overall leaderboard. Tayson, however, is 40 HP and he's able to just get a big off from backside, while Malibu is 200 HP with really good heals. Let's take a look at what Tayson does to clutch this. First of all is he spots a solo, and very smartly he places this floor in on the solo. That's up to the solo's POV. He's now worried about getting shot from the side. He makes sure to secure himself right there. And of course the pickaxe bug was in the game, so Tayson's kind of abusing this. But what he does is he waits for Marius to be using his splashes, then to get into the box. And he does it very nicely. He comes in on his right, so Marius is left, which means that he can't get seen when he comes into the box, and he can't get pumped. He's behind the other guy's character model, takes him out, and now he's got all of the refreshes that he needs to play this game out. It's a whole load of splashes, gets better guns. However, he does take a whole load of damage from another solo at this point in time. He tries to hit this crazy shot, goes down to 40 HP, and Tayson plays this absolutely perfectly. While Malibu is doing slightly risky plays and actually hopping box, Tayson is simply just using all of his mats possible, and very smartly here is he's mirroring height. So you can see he's basically second height in wood, which is obviously really bad to do in the majority of cases. However, as you can see here from height can't actually see Tayson because he's mirroring underneath them directly. Such smart game sense for Tayson to realize that in the final game and to actually do this really risky play, which is to be second height in wood as a solo while white, and he doesn't get punished for it, which is unbelievable just because he realized that he can mirror height and they can't see him. Again here, most players will just hammer front side low. Tayson decides to use his last remaining builds on this second height position so he can survive, get that top 10 placement, out survive Malabuka, and then now all he has to do is keep on solo clutching with absolutely nothing left, which you know he can do. He hides behind all these old builds, hides behind this cone here for a second, nice and patient and slow play, and he only goes down here because he actually got hammered out and he got shot at the same time. I'm pretty sure if he didn't get hammered out here, he'd be able to get a couple more placements just from lurking around on the backside of the zone.